This program is brought to you by freekeene.com. Freekeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeene.com.
Meg calling us from the Mobile Authority Resistance Vehicle currently parked in Tallahassee, Florida, there with the Liberty on Tour guys, Adam and Pete. Are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, good to have you back on the show. Of course, the big news, in the update, at least in your case, is that the TSA has taken their position, and they're doing their best to make you look like you are a bad person, Meg. They are suggesting that you were not telling the truth about what was going on when you were talking to us this week, and they've released video footage that doesn't really answer any questions but brings up more questions regarding what you had said happened versus what you can see happening in the footage, which in many cases isn't a whole lot. In one of the clips, the camera is very far away from what is actually going on. You're almost completely obscured in that particular clip.
Yeah, and there's no audio in either, and so on and so forth, yeah.
So there was
also,
a lot of
I'd say
questions.
very important is there's no timestamp.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the TSA, I guess the steel jaws of our security apparatus here in the country cannot get clear video, can't get video of what's going on in their so that we the people who supposedly run this government can take a view of what they're doing. They don't even have time-stamped materials. Maybe they do have timestamps and they chose not to show them because
they would have had to have cropped it out, because usually that timestamp is actually physically imprinted on the video frame.
Yes, so this is disturbing stuff. And I guess the first question I have for you, Meg, is I watched these videos exhaustively today to try to figure out what was going on in them, and it was very difficult to figure out what was going on. Have you seen them?
Well, obviously, with everything that's been going on, it's been difficult for me to sit down and just watch through them. But from what I have seen, just the angles and, what little parts of it I caught, I mean, first of all, I find it very sad that they wouldn't release all the footage. And if that is all the footage that they have, then I find it really concerning that they would, have this blank spot that's not covered by cameras that's in an exact area where they're going to take people to do what I consider is molestation. Video footage of that is so incredibly important, which is why I, tried to reach for my camera, because I wanted to capture footage of it. And that's when they freaked out on me. But there's this whole area, you can tell by the camera angle, that it's the secondary screening where they take people to touch them, and if that's all the footage they have of me, that area is not covered.
Is that the area? There's two clips, and you can see these over at We Won't Fly. I believe WeWon'tFly.com put them up on their website. It's also over on some TSA blog somewhere if you want to see them there. But is that the area? The secondary screening area is the area off to the right of the footage where you're sitting down in the chair, and pretty much all you can see is you sitting in the chair?
Yeah, there's like a roped-off area, and there's more than one chair in that area and everything, and that's the secondary screening area, but most of it is not caught on that camera angle, which means that they are taking people to an area that, if that is all the footage they have of me, that area is not covered by a camera, which means that, nobody is capturing footage of what these people are doing to people, and that's absolutely insane to me.
Yep, you're right. That's pretty disturbing. So it's also interesting that in the second footage, which is very far away, the camera is several feet away from the action.
It's nearly impossible.
They basically take you over behind a filing cabinet, what looks to be like a filing cabinet of some sort of metal thing, and it
was like one of those machines that they do the swab and whatnot, and then there was some office stuff surrounding me. And that was basically the end of the whole ordeal when they were, filling out the reports and talking to me and trying to figure out who was going to walk me out and which direction and where they were going to take my stuff. And, that was the end of the ordeal. And so...
Well, what's missing? First of all, what are we missing? Because the TSA would like us to believe this is it. That, Meg came on Free Talk Live on Monday night and said this took an hour. Now, certainly when you're under stress, and you were just out of this when you called us on Monday night. When you're stressed,
I called you probably 30 minutes after it happened. And, I told him that I was frazzled. I said, I had just been absolutely traumatized by these people, and so I wasn't as clear and precise with my explanations as I'd like to be. It was all just trying to recapture in my head what had just happened to me. So I can understand if I misspoke or if something I said was taken out of context.
So to that end, that's one of the reasons why I want to have you on and get some of this stuff clarified. Certainly, a lot of these questions may come up later in the mainstream media, but
this is one of the things is that I think you need to realize that people are going to ask you some really tough questions here in your newfound celebrity, so let's start it here.
Right. So what is missing? How much is missing? Because the original claim was it was an hour, but it might have felt like an hour. Maybe you didn't actually time it. The video footage clocks out to about 25 minutes worth. So what's missing and how much of it is?
Well, yeah, as you can see, like at the very end of the first video, there's no police, but when they first walked me up and whatnot, that's when the police first arrived, and then you don't see any portion of me with the cops at all.
I'm sorry, in which video did the police arrive?
At the very, very end of the first video,
okay.
You haven't even seen the police enter because, like I said, these camera angles just don't capture everything. So it's at that point that I get up and walk out of just that seat, and they take me to the other side where that camera angle, doesn't catch anything, and there's nothing there,
But what's missing? What's missing? Because they take you out of the initial screening area. You end up in another area with these bureaucrats surrounding you.
It's actually the exact same area. It's just on the other side.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So basically, do you think these videos encompass the whole time frame that you were dealing with these people from walking in to being escorted out? Because I believe I saw you walk in. I believe I saw you escorted out of the area. And
so it appears to be the beginning to the end of that.
It looks to me like the beginning to the end at about 25 minutes. Which I can see why that might appear to be an hour to you when you're there. I totally get that, and I'm not trying to cook your feet on this one too hard. I'm just trying to figure out, is there missing footage?
Oh, like I said, I haven't seen all of it yet.
You need to look at it.
There's absolutely no way that it could have captured part of what happened because both of those angles don't cover that area.
Well, yeah, I agree that these are
missing footage.
I agree that. Well, I agree that it's impossible to see what's going on, but I'm not asking if there's missing footage as far as
detail, but time.
Detail. I'm talking about in the time frame. Are we seeing the whole encounter, even if we're seeing it poorly? Are we seeing the time frame of the whole encounter?
From what I can tell, no.
Okay.
But like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I have seen the camera angles, and there is a portion of the security area that's missing from both.
A big question
I was in that area.
A big question is going to be, what about the handcuffs? It wasn't clear in any of the footage where or when the handcuffs would have been put on you. The first video. We'll come back with that here in a moment. If you can stick with us, more with Meg. This is Free Talk Live. You can take control and bring up what you want. Free Talk Live amplifiers get access to higher quality archives free of commercial breaks and other perks. Join AMP for just $3 per month at amp.freetalklive.com. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and take control of the airwaves at 800-259-9231. You can join us on our website at freetalklive.com and experience the features there completely free. We've got archives. So if you have missed a moment of the show, just click and download. They're right there on the front page of the website. Now with added features. You can see what I mean. The archive section looks a little bit different now. Go and take a look at freetalklive.com. The last week's worth are on the front page. And then if you click into the archive section, that'll take you back to late 2006. All of it free. And brought to you by HostGator.
HostGator is a worldwide leader for web hosting. They make it easy for you to get your own .com domain name. You create your very own website with their free site builder tools and templates, whether you want a personal blog or a complete e-commerce business website. Let the experts at HostGator.freetalklive.com host you. If you use that portal that we've created for you, HostGator.freetalklive.com, you'll get your first month completely free. HostGator.freetalklive.com.
We're back with Meg McLain, who's made nationwide splash in the news this week after the Drudge Report posted an interview that she did with us on Monday night after being harassed by the TSA. The TSA has now released video footage from the security checkpoint in question, and we've got Meg back with us to talk about and clarify perhaps some of the things that are now in question regarding the original story. And there are blogs now, jalopnik.com, blogging blogging libertarian radio host lied about TSA harassment, attempting to pick apart some of the things that you said on Monday night, Meg, and show what their interpretation is of what actually transpired. Now, you say that you have not actually had a chance to review the full footage of what the TSA has posted, but in essence, you've got one camera view of the main portion of the screening area, and then there's another view of a different portion of that same area. The camera, the footage starts before you enter into the main screening area, and then you leave that main portion of that area, and then in the other footage, it's you entering into that other portion of the area, and then at the end, you exiting the security screening area. And you're saying that you believe there's still something missing when it looks in the footage like they're walking you from one place to another.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, there's no timestamps on either one of these, and so it's very... it's suspicious to me why they, would take 4 days to come out with, and there's cameras all over the place, so they couldn't find any better angle than, very far away and distant, and these angles that are cut off half of, the security area that I was in. It just seems all very suspicious to me.
So you just to clarify here, you when they took you, you were sitting down in this chair for a long time, for about 15 minutes. You're sitting down in this chair. There are several TSA agents that appear to be interacting with you, or at least standing around. Where did they take you after you got up out of that chair?
After I got up out of that chair, I just moved directly. They took me around. There's like a roped area, and that roped area has another chair in it, so they just moved me around to the other chair.
So at what?
And that one is conveniently off screen,
So you're saying there's another chair that you are being put in. So in the second video, where it's taken from very far distance, you are walked over to this area where there's this machine. You said it was like one of their testing machines of some sort. And it looks as though you're standing the entire time that you're in this video, and the bureaucrats are milling about and standing around watching you. So you're saying that's after you sat down in a second chair that there's no footage of?
Yeah, and I have no idea why there is no footage of that. And it's either they decided not to release that, or they don't have a camera set up there, which is very disturbing.
At what point did the handcuffs get put on you? Because throughout the first video,
that was in the second chair.
The second chair, of which there is no footage. Now,
the cops don't arrive until I get put into that second chair. I mean, you can see in the first video there's no cops, and the second one suddenly there's an officer
there are cops.
with me.
Well, you don't know. I mean, from the footage, you never know if the cops were around elsewhere outside the frame. And, of course, a lot of people are going to say, well, they didn't see 12 cops and 7 TSA agents, but I see cops moving in and out, and they change out, and there's different people coming in. And
I felt that was nitpicky, how many agents there were, because you just can't tell.
Yeah.
And
at what point did they tear the ticket up? Was that also at the second chair?
That was. You can see in the first video, the lady holding the ticket. And then at the end, there's no ticket at all.
So at what point were you taken out of the handcuffs?
That only lasted a few minutes. I mean, I reached for my bag to get my camera, and that's when all that happened. Mm-hmm. And so that was a few minutes of just until they could get my stuff away from me and whatnot, so that I knew that I was theirs, I guess.
So basically, let me see. I've made some notes to make sure that we don't miss anything here. Oh, here's a big one. The claim was originally on Monday night that you were the only person who was picked out for the backscatter machine, and clearly the video contraindicates that there are several people that are being put through the backscatter machine.
I think that might have just been in my hysteria, because when I was chosen, as far as I could see, that there was nobody else around me who was chosen. And then when I was sat into that secondary screening, nobody was brought into that secondary screening. And that's what I was trying to convey. And I think I may have misspoken on that one. But
so that you were the only person being secondarily screened. Everybody else was going through the backscatter machine, and
it wasn't that I was the only person chosen for whatever. It was that area was restricted just to me. Nobody was ever brought over there.
Got it. So there was no other secondary screenings that went on, but other people were going through the backscatter machine. And again, I can understand you're in your own zone. You're focusing in on what these bureaucrats are doing to you at that time. That makes sense.
Yeah, and at that point I was hysterical. I can understand it. In the moment I saw, something else that actually happened than what actually happened or whatever. It's all misleading from the real issue, which is the fact that, no matter what happened, you can see on there that was way over the top response to just some questions. I mean, it doesn't matter how far they went. The fact that they did anything at all to some questions, and then that I got walked out of the airport and missed my flight, and I've gone through all of this just over questions. That's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, of course you're absolutely right about that.
Right. Certainly no level of the level of response that they had over you just wanting to know what was going to happen and decide whether or not you were going to participate in that. That's beyond the pale. But once the claims are made, people are going to have questions about the claims, and if they have questions, then they're the video's released. They don't feel like they've seen what's going to happen. So you haven't watched this video all the way through, and you're saying that you don't think that the point where you were the point where you were in handcuffs is actually shown on the video. Is that the claim?
I don't believe so, because from both camera angles, that spot isn't shown.
Yep. So there's an interim spot. So according to what I've heard so far, there's an interim point that the TSA completely cut out. You say there's cameras all over the place, so maybe they actually do.
Well, I mean, I would assume there was cameras all over the place. This is the TSA we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe not then.
So.
Okay, so you don't know that.
If they don't, then that's an issue.
Right. So you weren't certain then whether or not there were cameras recording you in the area that you were being held in between the two videos. The TSA has attempted to make this look like by A, not posting videos with a time code on them, and B, just posting two videos where in one you are leaving one frame at the end of one video, and then in the beginning of another video you're entering the frame. So to make it look as though this is just contiguous. She's leaving one area, moving into. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, via podcast, the webcam, and our live streams at freetalklive.com. Not enough options? Now you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone, 760-569-7752. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Free Talk Live listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 760-569-7752. That's 760-569-7752. This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves by dialing in toll-free at 800-259-9231. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line, 1-800-259-9231. You can join us on our website at freetalklive.com. And enjoy all the features there that you will find completely free. We've got different things for you, including our webcam. You can watch, you can listen, you can interact. Our cam is built into the same page as our chat room, as a matter of fact. So go over to cam.freetalklive.com. Do all that free. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
The Cam's brought to you by MemoryDealers.com. They offer the world's largest selection of discounted optical transceivers, including SFPs, XFPs, GBICs, Zenpaks, X2s. They're all 100% compatible with all major networking equipment manufacturers, including Cisco, 3Com, Foundry, Alcatel, and HP, at up to 99% off of list price. I've gone there. I've looked at this website. In fact, there are rates up to 99% off of optical transceivers. They also offer customized solutions for your transceiver requirements, including private labeling. It's MemoryDealers.com.
All right, we're back with Meg McLain. She is the young lady who appears on this show from time to time, and also is a great liberty activist up here in New Hampshire. Moved here as part of the Free State Project a few years back. Does a lot of great video work. You can visit her website, libertyflare.com, and buy some Liberty Flare, which, Meg, why don't you pitch real quick? What is Liberty Flare?
Liberty Flare is a company I started that it's just 1-inch buttons that have liberty-oriented messages, liberty-oriented groups, stuff like that on them, so that people can, wear these things on their clothes, their bags, whatever, and share the message of liberty through, easy 1-inch little messages. And also use it as a fundraiser for the various groups, liberty groups that sponsor the other designs, for, we have so many different groups on there now. I can't even name any of them, but I give the proceeds, half the proceeds, to those groups so they can, people can buy things and feel like they're funding liberty as well.
So libertyflare.com is where people can go to take a look at that. By the way, I want to apologize to our listeners. We ran hard into that break a few moments ago, and there was some technical difficulties that made that happen. So we might have missed the very last moment of what it was that we were discussing. And we've been talking about these the video footage the TSA has come out with, which suspiciously is missing a time code. Now, it's
really suspiciously, and it's disgusting.
Entirely believable that the government is this incompetent that they would purchase a multi-million-dollar or whatever video system and it not have the time code, or them not turn it on. Or it's also believable that the government would have a time code, but they would use a cropping method, because you can take a piece of video that is however many hundreds of lines and then use a zoom function essentially to zoom in just a little bit. If the time code's at the very bottom, you can zoom in. It'll still look like a full frame of video footage, but completely cut out the relevant information that you're looking
So either
to.
they're stupid or lying. During the break, just to sort of check through this, because I want to be certain what's going on. I know Meg's going to be on the hot seat tomorrow, and we looked at this, and Meg, you claimed that between the two videos there was a situation where you were taken to another chair, and it appears as though there's a guy in a light blue to white shirt, just a regular fellow with some khaki pants, that's following directly behind you in the first video, and then you walk out of the frame in the first video. In the second video, you walk into the frame. One could conclude, since there isn't any time stamping on this, they don't have the same technological advances that Circle K offers. Since they don't do that.
That was Sean's joke, by the way.
It was Sean's joke, and it was better when he did it. When in fact this guy isn't following you. After the first video, he's following you out. Then he's not following you. Now, it's possible with these two
he went in a different
stinking
direction.
camera angles that somehow or another he turned off. But it's difficult for me to internalize and believe the story the TSA has here, because they say, well, Meg McLain claims that she was handcuffed to a chair. You never claimed that on our show, and we'll let you be the judge.
There's so many media distortions now that I have no control over, and so I feel like this is just their attempt to push the main focus away from what the actual issue is. And so I don't want to waste my time, trying to dispute all these things, because half of them I don't even know what people have said that people are believing now. And so there's not any, real. I don't know.
You need to be prepared for it
at this point.
You need to be prepared for it, because they're going to, people. You need to have some thing to say that essentially, look, this thing has taken on a life of its own. There are people out there support my actions that have claimed things that I did not claim. There have been things that I sort of believed early on. I was still a little flustered from the event, but what you need to do is you need to be prepared for that, because they are going to hit you hard. When they get you on. You remember what they did with William Kostrick during the when he was wearing the gun on his hip during the Obama thing.
And William was kind enough to write to me and everything like that. So, I mean, to me, all of this is just trying to create a distraction from the issue. And I have no control. Once I say what I experienced, yes, I could have, said it wrong, because I was in my own world at that point. But, what I experienced, I tried to convey as best I could. Once people put it out there and make all these distortions, I have no control over, how big this story gets and how, off-the-wall claims people make. But I don't feel I should be responsible for, coming up with an answer for every single one of those claims. All I can say is what happened to me, and I did not see the full story on those videos, and so I'm not going to sit here.
If the TSA wants to refute your claim, they can post the full video footage
with some time stamps,
multiple angles with a timestamp of what actually transpired. And I want that timestamp to be originally on the video, not added later on as some sort of a subtitle overlay. Like, here's the timestamp you asked for, and then make that crap up too. And
Yeah.
Anybody could stick a timestamp on.
Somebody ain't telling
the credibility
truth.
is lost.
Right. Somebody isn't telling the truth. And, looking at the history of the government telling lies, I'm more likely to believe that it's the government that's telling the lies
here.
here.
TSA alone, I mean, I've received so many emails of support from people who have gone through the same thing, and they're all telling me these horror stories that they went through. And I read, the TSA's claims on it, and they completely always dismiss it as, no, that didn't happen. No, we don't squeeze people's breasts. It's like, no, these people are in tears on their flights home because they've been molested. And so how can you claim that you didn't squeeze their breasts when they're crying over it? I mean, they've been caught in lies time and time again. They said that the body scanners weren't able to save the photos, and that was proven wrong.
That's true.
They said that at the very beginning you couldn't see the genitals in the photos, and that was proven wrong. So time and time again, these people are liars. They're caught being liars, and they always dismiss it as, no, we're telling the truth. And so for this, I'm just not even going to waste my time because, I mean, obviously they've been caught lying before, and here I don't feel they're telling the whole truth. If they were telling the whole truth, they would release, from when I walked in the airport to when I was taken out. And there are sections missing. There are no timestamps. I just don't feel that I have, the energy or desire to fight them about their misconceptions or their.
Well, I think
they're not going to fight you on your terms anyway. They're not going to give you a fair fight.
I think you're talking about the media, fighting the media.
The media is definitely going to ask questions.
I think the most powerful thing you can say, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about this, as far as Meg handling these questions that might come up tomorrow when she's doing major media interviews. I think one of the most powerful things you can say is what you just pointed out, and that is that, what about this, Megan? What about this? Well, they didn't show you everything. And here's how you can look. Here's how you can know that. There's no time codes. Isn't that suspicious? And don't forget, this is the same TSA that told you lies about X and Y and Z, the things you just mentioned about the.
I'd have that written
genitals.
down.
Yeah. Make notes and make notes about what you want to come back to, as you were talking about earlier, getting back on point, what the real issue is here. But you'll have to address the question before you get back on the point. And so make a note to bring that up. This is the same TSA that told you lie about whether they saved the pictures or not, or whether they could save the pictures or not. This is the same TSA that told you lies about the genitals. And what do you know? There's no time code on these video, these video streams, and you can't hardly see anything that's going on in them.
Are we expected to believe there's really no time code on these things? I mean, I find I'm dubious.
Meg, can you stick with us for a little bit more?
Sure.
All right, more with Meg McLain here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronic, photo, cell phone, office product, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supply, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Amazon.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, a great deal, delivery to your door, and a percentage of your purchase will go to Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon through Amazon.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Maybe enough time for your call if you make it now. And if you've got a question for Meg, you can do that too. 800-259-9231. It's certainly possible that we've missed something here in our follow-up interview with Meg McLain, who made a national splash this week for her ordeal that she went through on Monday night, being harassed by the TSA, ticket torn up, handcuffed for a little while in the detention area. TSA releases videos trying to disprove what Meg said, but suspiciously the videos are absent any kind of time code, which is one of the most basic functions of having a security camera system, which really calls into question the veracity of what they're offering. So we're here. We've got Meg on the line with us, and she's been very gracious in spending the entire hour with us here so far and handling what have been some, I think, pretty tough questions.
Yeah, as tough as we can make them.
And so, Mark, you had a suggestion for Meg as far as handling media interviews and tough questions that might be thrown out.
Yeah, the in the last segment, you essentially said something to the effect of, "Look, if they're going to give me a whole bunch of trouble over this, then I don't need their media attention." And I would caution you in that area, because if you do the hang up thing, or you storm out or something like that, then you're gonna, or you refuse to go on camera. All of these things are going to be interpreted as a person who's not telling the truth. And I think what you need to do is actually just watch these videos, just be as prepared as you possibly can, and be ready, because I think that's really what it's got to be all about. In order to defend your position best, to get the message that you want to get across,
notes, talking points,
practice, preparation, and that's what's going to make the difference. You can't go in half-stepping here, because they will take your head off.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that I wouldn't do the media. I'm just saying that I'm not going to waste much time trying to, defend my side of the story as truth, because, obviously they're liars. They've been proven as liars. There's discrepancies in this video, as you've obviously pointed out. As I've watched most of parts of them. I've seen chunks of it here and there. I'm going to watch through the whole thing, but I can already tell that, there's not one angle that captures that middle section, and so there's no way they could have shown that. And so, I'm not going to waste my time trying to focus on proving that I'm right, as opposed to talking about why I was in that position in the first place, because that's the real problem. I mean, it's not just this one instance that happened to me. It happens to people all the time.
Yeah, we talked earlier tonight about a rape victim who went through this process, and it was absolutely harrowing.
She actually contacted me.
Oh, really?
She wrote to me shortly. So
Celeste.
It might have been her.
It was a woman named Celeste.
It started with a C, so it could have been her. I don't know. I've had so many people contact me.
I bet.
Oh, yes.
Another point of clarification.
Have a rape victim who went through it contact me.
Meg, if I may, another point of clarification. And I tried to clarify this the first night I had you on. I thought it was clear to me, but apparently it wasn't clear to everybody. Did you have your breast twisted at any point, at any of your experiences being screened by the TSA at any airport?
At any airport, yes.
You did, okay.
But not this one.
Not this one, not this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Nothing happened. Nobody touched me.
Because they never got to that point, because you started asking
they didn't have
questions.
The opportunity, right?
Right. You started asking questions, and that's when they took you aside, put you in the chair, and started the process of lecturing you and harassing you.
Yeah.
Now here's another one for you. The tissue issue. At one point in our original interview, you mentioned that because you were handcuffed, you couldn't reach your face and blot at it, for instance, because you were crying and your makeup is running.
There was, when I was first sitting down, and after about 10 minutes of that, that's when I started crying, and a TSA agent who wasn't affiliated with all the stuff going on with me, she was kind enough to come over, hand me some tissues, ask me what was wrong, if I was okay, stuff like that. But then later, I obviously couldn't wipe my face. But you can see me when I walk into the other video, I've got the tissue in my hand, because that was one that she gave me.
Got it. So you actually were holding the tissue at the point they handcuffed you, and that it was at that time that you could not wipe your face.
Yeah.
Understood. And it's interesting the way the TSA defenders out there, because there's going to be three different groups of people. There are going to be the people that are already on your side. They get it that the TSA is bad.
Your story could be full of holes, and those people are going to believe whatever you say.
There's going to be the people that are going to defend the TSA no matter what, because they believe they're being protected and the TSA is great. And then there are going to be the fence sitters that are wondering what's the real story, who's telling the truth. And so the fence sitters are going to look at that, and they're going to the TSA defenders are going to point to the TSA lady that gave you the tissue and say, "See, they're not treating her badly." Sure,
well,
you
they're
can't
also
hear
going to say
anything.
that, hey, look, she's got the tissue in her hand when she walks back by, so that proves that this video is congruent to that video.
Well, they're going to make that claim, but there's no evidence for it, obviously.
Indeed, there's not, but I'm just saying, man.
But, they're going to say that, look, these officers are being friendly. They're not being mean to her in this first video, so what is she talking about? But, of course, you can't hear anything that's going on. And when did the nastiness really set in? Was it initially? Were some of them being nasty right out the gate and you just can't tell because there's no audio?
Yeah, there's a lady that you can see at the very beginning. She's the one, who originally takes me over there. She's got dark hair, kind of pulled back.
Longer?
She was the one who, she instantly had an attitude with me just because I had opted out. She came up to me with an attitude. And that's, what kind of triggered everything. And then as I became more, just defiant with her because she was being so rude, and she has no reason to be rude to me at that point at all. So I was becoming more defiant, and then she became more angry, and she started bringing other people in, and because she was angry and she was the one telling them, what was going on, they were coming in already angry at me, and so that's when everything started picking up, and then once, the cops came, that's when I walked out, is when the cops first arrived, and then, there's all that chunk where I don't know, I really don't know where that is, and I want them to release that if they have it.
How long were you being held? And we know you said you were only in the handcuffs for a few minutes. How long do you estimate that you were being held in that area where we do not have footage, where the TSA did not release the footage?
I really don't know. It was probably maybe 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
And then they take me over to the side and continue their terrorism lecture. And
so with that,
doing their report
with that, you add that in 5-10 minutes on top of the already 25 minutes they've got, plus the time you spent at the desk, because they didn't take you right out of the airport, they took you out of the security area.
And they never show like when I walk down that long hallway. They don't show all the people waiting for me at the end. They don't show me going to the counter. They don't show the people escorting me out. They don't show any of that.
That's right.
They just show these two chunks that, nothing really happens in them.
Let's go.
So obviously,
I'm sorry, Meg. Go ahead. Let me bring Todd in Michigan on here real quick. Todd, you're on with
sure.
Meg. Todd in Michigan, you are on with Meg. Going once. Todd in Michigan, going twice. All right. Well, forget about that then. All right. So go ahead, Meg. What were you saying?
So I'm just saying that, to me, this seems suspicious that liars lie, and this is obviously a case of one more lie, because I know what I experienced, and while, I may have been in my own world and kind of frazzled and maybe not seen everything that was going around me, and so, my interpretation of the situation was different. There are definitely things that
sure.
I just don't see occurring in these videos that I know occurred.
Meg, what about the arm grab? In the very beginning, you said that one of the TSA agents grabbed your arm and tried to lead you somewhere, and then the critics are saying, that didn't happen in the video. Where was that? When did that occur?
Well, you can see me come through the metal detector, and the lady came over, and she pulled my arm, and that's when I pulled back. And I just, I said, I'll walk on my own and follow you. And so you can't see that because I'm behind the backscatter machine.
Yeah, that's what I thought at that time. I thought there's a pretty big machine. It's blocking what's going on. And there's at one point when you can see a TSA agent lean over into a radio and say something. And I'm betting that's probably around when that occurred. Like, oh, we've got a defiant one here.
She doesn't like me grabbing her arm.
Yeah. I mean, the moment she went out to touch me, I was already recoiling, and then she started pulling my arm, and I was like, pulling away from her. So
all right, well, I'm going to post this interview at Free. I'm going to post this interview at Free Keene.
Just 1 second, Meg. Another thing you need to realize and probably mention if they give you any trouble about your version of the story initially is that eyewitness accounts tend to be a little shifty, and when they're shown in the light of, say, video and that kind of thing, people just don't remember what actually really happened. And this is a common human phenomenon. This doesn't make you a liar simply because your perspective on things wasn't precisely as the video shows. You gave it as you remembered it, and the fact is that it's just common. It's extraordinarily common that people's stories do not match video entirely.
Meg, we're short on time. I know that you've been busy with all kinds of things today, lots of emails, scheduling interviews for tomorrow, but I know that there's a post coming from you to freekeene.com. Is that still in the works?
Yeah, it's in the works. We had to drive up to Tallahassee, so I got a Wi-Fi break in there, so gotta do that.
Stay tuned to freekeene.com to get the latest from Meg. She's got I think you guys shot a video today, right?
We didn't shoot a video, but I'm just going to write a blog.
All right, very good. Blog post coming from Meg over at freekeene.com, and thanks for coming on here tonight, Meg. I certainly appreciate your time tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at Free Talk. What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over halfway to its goal of 20,000 participants, and they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is also the undisputed liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, newsprint, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, the busiest Liberty Forum in New Hampshire, and more at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.